Hello to everyone in Steelers Nation. I'm Stan Savran from the Pittsburgh Steelers Radio Network. And it's my great pleasure to welcome in former Steeler #1 draft pick, Steeler tailback, Tim Worley. Tim, great to see you again. How are you?
Good to see you, Stan. I'm doing excellent.
That's great to hear. #1 draft pick, 7th overall in the draft.
Pittsburgh Steelers, first round selection. Running back, Tim Worley of Georgia.
Did you sense there was going to be extra pressure because you're a #1 pick?
Most definitely. First of all, the Steelers was always my favorite team. Me being a guy from North Carolina, the teams were the Cowboys, the Steelers, the Redskins, and the original Baltimore Colts. So Steelers was always my favorite team since I was 10 years old. So when they drafted me so high, it was like a dream come true.
Why the Steelers? Is it because of the teams of the 70s?
Yes, team of the 70s, and also we had guys like Mean Joe Green. You remember that name. You remember the Coca-Cola commercial, and you had guys like Lynn Swann and Stallworth and Terry Bradshaw, Franco Harris, all those guys. You can't forget about those guys.
So it gave you a little bit of extra juice to play for a team that you rooted for as a kid?
Yes, sir, and also I like the black and gold, so that was my favorite color.
Good, it looked good on you, I got to say that. Did you feel a sense of pressure being a #1 pick, regardless? I mean, running backs, skill position, high profile, not like an offensive guard. But did you feel pressure because you're not only a running back, but a #1 pick?
Yes, sir. Before I actually declared myself eligible for the NFL draft, I was a redshirt junior. And when I decided to do that, I knew what I was getting into. I knew that I was going to be a top 10 pick. If not, I wouldn't have never came out. I would have went through my senior year. But the pressure was there. I remember when I signed my contract and I got my signing bonus through FedEx. I was living in California and got $1 million check through the mail, and it frightened me. I got scared. I was like, oh my goodness, the Steelers are expecting a huge return on their investment. So a lot of people don't understand that, back then I was the first rookie to ever get $1 million signing bonus from the Steelers. So that was a lot of pressure. So yeah, the pressure was there, man.
Did you feel it when you came to camp, when you finally arrived in Latrobe and it was time to put up for the $1 million bonus?
I think it didn't hit me during training camp. I think I was in training camp 5 days maybe, and my first preseason game was against the Philadelphia Eagles, and looking across the line at me was Big Reggie White, you know what I mean, in Veterans Stadium. And he said, "Hey, Worley, how you doing?" But anyway, the pressure came that first regular season game. And we all remember that in 1989, I fumbled 3 times. So immediately after that, the pressure really set in because I never heard boos like that, you know what I mean? And either I was gonna fold up or I was gonna tighten up and get focused and get ready to play in the NFL. So that's what I did.
So that opening game sort of served as an eye-opener, a slap in the face?
Most definitely, because people always ask me, what's the difference between, is there a huge difference from college to the NFL? To me, it really wasn't. Coming from the SEC, it was more a mental difference because everybedy's good. You know what I mean? And you have to really study, you have to focus, and you have to take care of yourself. You have to get your rest. Me being a young guy, I didn't really understand that. I just went on my raw talent. But that was the separation right there, mental focus more than just physical focus.
Well, no coach likes fumbles, no coach likes turnovers, but they were especially anathema to Chuck Noll. And I wonder your relationship with him, especially after an opening game like that.
Well, Chuck, may he rest in peace, but Chuck he was a great coach. I liked him. I found out later that he personally drafted me himself. I didn't quite understand just the offense that we were running and the split back and the trapping, because me coming from Georgia, I was 8 yards deep, 6'2", 230, ran a 4.3 in the 40, and you pitch the ball to me and get out of the way. So the trapping was more blocking, more of a slowing down type process, but it actually taught me how to take my time and run the ball. But I began later on in the middle of the season of my rookie year, I began to really take up on it, just pick up everything that was going on, and I kind of balanced everything out. And that's when we went to the playoffs.
So you had to learn to read.
Yes, I mean, I could read, but I had to learn to take my time, because when you run a trap offense, to me, it's more for a guy that's maybe like Merle Hodges style, maybe a guy that's like a 4'6", 4'7". I was just one of those speedy outside guys. didn't make a lot of moves, but I could truck you or I could run past you. And so being at Georgia, 8 yards deep, you get the ball and you just go. But I had to learn to slow the game down for myself, and it actually helped me.
Interesting, Tim, watching you play all those years and watching you play in college at Georgia. You got to be riding high, by the way, as a former Bulldog. It seemed to me that if you're 8 yards deep and you're getting that pitch wide, that with your speed and size, you're going to beat most college linebackers to the edge. But in the NFL, those linebackers probably can run with almost any running back. And I wondered if that was one of the big adjustments you had to make.
Well, here's the thing. When I was at the University of Georgia in 1988, I fumbled the ball one time. And then I came to Pittsburgh, and all of a sudden I'm fumbling, several times. But, I was used to trucking people. And here it is, and any given Sunday, the worst team in the league could kick your butt, you know what I mean? So you got guys that are 6'4", 6'5", playing middle linebacker, 240, 250, running 4.5. So you're absolutely right. And when you're trying to truck, you can't truck everybody, and Chuck Noll told me that. You can't truck everybody, so that was one of the lessons that I had to learn.
You talk about playing in the playoffs, and one of the most memorable playoff games was that playoff game in Houston. Those were not great years for the team, but in '89, a series of events got you into the playoffs, and then that memorable game in Houston where Gary Anderson kicked a 51-yarder. And I remember I'm thinking what you remember about that game in particular.
Well, I remember a lot of it because I had one of the touchdowns in that game. Just the 4th and 1 that we didn't know whether we wanted to kick a field goal or score, and I guess Chuck Noll kind of believed in me and what the play that we were running, and took a pitch to the right, and man, it was open, and I kind of smashed the DB and fell into the end zone. So that was, I'll always remember that right there. But just that season, to make it to the first round, of the playoffs, and then go to the second round and lose to Denver with 1 minute and 3 seconds left on the clock, that was an awesome season.
Thinking about that playoff win in Houston, I remember going into the locker room after that game was over. Rod forces the fumble. Anderson kicks the 51-yard field goal, but the whole locker room was really emotional, just overjoyed. Do you recall it that way?
Yeah, I do. We the practice that week was very intense. We were riding high, man, because nobody gave us a chance, considering how the season started. And I'm telling you, after that Minnesota Vikings game, because they were supposed to destroy us, and we beat them. I think we beat them by a touchdown and a half, maybe. And after that, man, we just started moving forward, man, and we became consistent. The running game peaked up a little bit, and if we could get 100 yards out of the backfield, usually we would win that game. So I started getting the ball a little bit more. I started running better. I was a little bit focused. I got my confidence, and the fans were behind me. So. It was a very, very memorable year, 1989.
Tim, there have been so many great Pittsburgh Steelers, past, present, I'm sure future, certainly from your era. And I'm wondering what it's like when you get a chance to come back as a Pittsburgh Steeler, as an honored member of a really exclusive group.
Actually, before I came back, this is the first time, I was in training camp about 6 or 7 weeks ago. And that was the first time that I've been back since 1999. I remember we had the team of the decade in 1999. I came back for a couple of days and was involved with that. Since then, I haven't been back to the city of Pittsburgh since '93, really. You know what I mean? And once I got traded to the Bears. But I've always kept up with a lot of the guys. Greg Lloyd and I kept up, Lewis Lips. John Starworth would always throw a golf tournament down in Huntsville, Alabama, and we all would attend that. And but sometimes you got to really force yourself to keep up with the guys because everybody's doing their thing. But it is such an honor to come back to the city of Pittsburgh itself because I've always loved this city. The city was good to me. I don't know how good I was to the city, but the city was good to me, and they believed in me. Even after my suspension for 1 year, they brought me back. But to come back and have the organization reach out to you still, and I think that's amazing. It speaks volumes, and it speaks, just the honor. I honor the Rooneys, you know what I mean, because they mean a lot to me. Because they don't have to do these type of things for us. And so to come back and see guys like Joe Green and some of the other guys, Dwayne Woodruff, saw him last night, Levon Kirkland, a lot of guys will be here tomorrow. Man, I'm in heaven. I'm in heaven.
Once a Steeler,
Always
a Steeler.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Tim.
You're welcome. Thank you.